Good morning and welcome to the Red Ned Show, where it's always morning, even in the afternoon. I am your host, Jay Edgar, and our guest co-host right now is actually running just a touch behind here. So I'm still waiting to see when he pops in here. He said he was setting up a couple minutes ago, but 5:30 hit, and we had to throw the opening music on and get started here. So, welcome to the Red Ned Show. Quest Fanning will be joining us in just a moment here, but before we get started, and while we're sitting here waiting, we can look over some of the stuff that we have going on here as well. So, I can do some of the intro, some of the selling of the wares here as we go here. Drop the music back just a little bit more as we get started here. So, Quest Fanning will be here momentarily, but in spite of the fact that he is not here yet, we do still have a bunch of stuff to get to over here. So, yeah, lots of stuff to go here. This is going to be a big one. This is going to be a busy one for sure here. The Rittenhouse trial started off this week, so we will be talking about that. I have spent almost my entire week of Contemporary talking about the Rittenhouse trial and some of the things that have been going on with that. I listened to Grosskreuz's testimony today as well. I haven't got to the part where he basically admitted the fact that Kyle shot in self-defense, but they've already given me the spoilers here, so I do kind of want to see that, and I'll be going with that. But we will be talking about that. In other news, we also had Election Day pop up once again, and this is one of those few odd-numbered year election days here, but it was definitely one of note, especially given the fact that Glenn Youngkin won. So, well, I want to say he won handily, but, we saw the distance go off here in just a bit, so definitely looking at that. Oh, there's my co-host. Let's get him in here, get him sound checked up and ready to go. I always love live sound check. That's my favorite way to do this here. So, we've even got a microphone here this time.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, we can. Let me get your screen up here and let's go. I've just been going through.
Sorry about the delay, man. It was just like I was like, I just got one more thing to do. Oh no, I got to do that too. Sorry.
I've had those days here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So back into where I was going with that, we will be talking about Election Day, plus some of the other more minor races here, especially the Minnesota police reform question. I found that very interesting as we go. In breaking news over the weekend, the vaccine mandate got slapped down by the Fifth Circuit Court, and well, a lot of people are sad, a lot of people are happy, and we'll be talking about what's going on there, what the Supreme Court might actually possibly do coming back up out of this. And lastly, the House has voted over the weekend to pass the infrastructure bill, so we'll be coming back and talking about that, and I've got a little bit of surprise stupidity for you. It took a while, but I did find it coming up this week, so we will definitely talk about that as well. It's going to be all of this and more over on the Red Net Show. Thanks for checking us out live on YouTube, DLive, Twitch, Twitter, which I have no idea where it is on Twitter, but it tells me I'm on Twitter, and Facebook as well. Or if you can't catch us live, you can catch us back on demand over on YouTube and over on BitChute.com, so definitely go and check out those platforms. On the audio platforms as well, you can go pick us up over on, I believe it is Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, even though I haven't updated those for quite a while. We got to get back into that swing here, so you can go check those out as well. Any place that you can go and find audio platforms, and any place that you want to, and we don't currently service, you can go look it up as well. You can let me know, and I'll see if I can get it added to there. All right, you are here. You weren't here at the top of the show, so first question I always ask is, how are you? How was your day? How was your Monday?
Doing all right. Had a little bit of an internet connection issue earlier this morning, so I'm hoping that's not going to be a recurring theme. I'm using cellular data for the phone, and I got the computer on a hotspot, so hopefully it'll work out.
Oh, that's never good.
Well, it's like I had a little bit of work to do today, and somehow it filled the entire day.
Yeah, you always get that here. I actually had to go over and they told me I had to take personal training for 2 sessions when I started joining the gym that I did, and they put one of those up today, so I got my ass kicked by a personal trainer today. That was fun.
No wonder you're looking so good. You got a glow about you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it could be that. The beard is coming back, too. I'm happy about that. We'll be up and bushy.
I think you should join the Bearded Menace. That's for sure.
I was there for a long time, but dressing up as Razorfish, you got to be true to the character, and he claims he can't grow a beard.
Mm-hmm.
So you have been here before. You have been here on a last minute before, which that is pretty awesome of you. But that's actually how you and I met. But it has been a while since you've been here, and I don't think you've been on this channel since the suicide stream either. But I know that was a pretty busy time for you. We were right down to business off that. But why don't you tell the audience just a bit about yourself?
Okay, that was the one part I hadn't prepared for. My name's Quest Fanning. I'm a husband and father. We homeschool our daughter Franny. I work in market research. I'm coding manager for a market research firm. Let's see, what else should I tell you about? I have an extensive background in volunteering in community organizations, usually in leadership positions, and I believe that in personal autonomy.
Yeah, that's definitely one that more people need to look into. And, that's some of the things that are going on. We'll talk about, I think, a bit more about this during the vaccine mandate side of this, is the personal autonomy, because it seems like most people want, the government to come and tell you what it is that you have to do. Otherwise, you're never going to do that. And really, the government has no place in that. I think that's one thing that you and I very much agree on. All right. We got some stuff to get into here today, and we've only got 2 hours to do it. So, are you ready to get into it?
I think I've got the tabs organized. I've got them all open up across 3 different browser windows. So
goodness,
this will work.
I've got more than that here, but definitely we will get into it, and we will start, of course, with some catching up on some news stories and some other small stories that didn't fit into the main topics here. So let's get started. We are going to start. Actually, before we get started, I have to do something over on our side, because otherwise you can't hear the video, and there will be video to hear. So let me adjust that for you here. There you go. I have you turned on, so anything that comes across my desktop here now, you can hear through your headphones. Let's get started. Starting with Fox News this morning, NBC News reporter says Biden's apparent nap is a political obstacle and reminds viewers that he keeps long hours. In case you didn't realize what was going on with this, at the, the C-POP, was it? I can't think of what the name of this was but the climate conference over in Europe today. Biden, while he was listening, COP26 is what it was. Biden, listening to, I believe, the delegate from Japan, just kind of fell asleep in the middle of the audience. Reading in, an NBC reporter worked to find excuses Monday for President Biden's apparent catnap during speeches at the 2021 United Nations Climate Change Conference. Biden, who warned military service members this summer that top Pentagon officials considered climate change to be the greatest threat to America's national security in the coming years, sat with his arms crossed, looking like he was drifting in and out of sleep in a viral video shared by the Washington Post reporter Zach Purser Brown. And I mean, he's getting up there. I'm sure you've, been in the house with your grandma and grandpa before, and they've been sitting in the chair, and you just look over and say, Grandma, you're sleeping. And they say, oh no, I wasn't sleeping.
I think with age, we all become a little bit more like empathetic toward the Cliff Huxtable need a nap after a long shift at the hospital kind of thing. Remember that in the Cosby Show? He was always like looking for a spot to nap.
No, actually, I didn't really pay a lot of attention to the Cosby Show. It came out when I was pretty young, and I never went back and watched the replays. I know where they were always playing, but that was I was still pretty young for that.
Discs. So,
yeah, I'm sure he's not welcome in a lot of Hollywood circles. But I mean, this is the leader of the free world. And yes, I do respect the fact that this is a demanding job that he does. But he should be able to handle this. And I mean, we had this conversation when McCain was running. I would say God have mercy on his soul, but I don't believe that. Okay, with that, let's keep going. We have a pretty short lightning round today, which is good. This one is funny, from NBC. Gun dealers sell parts and ammo using anti-Biden meme. Let's go, Brandon. Oh, they didn't put it up on this article. I had the tweet that had it with it, but I didn't put it up in there.
Different settings, right?
Yeah, it was on the different settings.
Different settings were? Yeah.
Gun dealers are marketing weapon parts and ammunition using a right-wing slogan, widely understood as code for profanity directed at President Joe Biden. Palmetto State Armory, which operates a 12,000 square foot gun store in Columbia, South Carolina, the state's capital, is marketing a Let's Go 15 strip lower receiver, which is a part meant for an AR-15 style assault rifle. The product description on the company's website says for the fire selector on the weapon features 3 modes: fuck, safe, Joe, fire, and Biden, full auto. Love how PSA is in touch with the current Let's Go Brandon situation, says one of the comments below the product description. More than half of America and other parts of the world are chanting, the current administration is destroying our country. The first thing I want to address with this, and I have looked into, because I didn't know quite what a strip receiver was at the time when I first read this article, but one thing I want to point to is that for an AR-style rifle to be commercially sold, there would be no auto mode. There would be no full auto mode.
You gotta make that drill the extra hole for that. Yeah. Oops.
I didn't hear that. But everybody flipped the absolute ever-loving fuck out of this, over this.
And it's ironic because I could swear I heard even worse things than fuck Donald Trump. I could swear I heard that at some point from some parties. I'm not sure who or what exactly it was they were saying, but you know, it was not of a friendly tone.
No, that it wasn't. But you know, if they didn't have double standards,
this is the good president, so we're not allowed to talk about him that way.
If they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all. Speaking of people having hot takes and Fox News autoplay, shut up you. Lindsey Graham got in the news this week because Lindsey Graham told police to use their guns against January 6 rioters. Take back the Senate, sugar! Republican Senator Lindsey Graham urged Capitol Police to use their guns and regain control of the Capitol on January 6th, a new report details. What are you doing? Take back the Senate. You've got the guns. Use them, Graham told Capitol Police, according to an extensive report from the Washington Post, Where Democracy Goes to Die in Darkness, which described Graham as irate that senators were forced to leave their chambers during the storming of the Capitol. We give you guns for a reason, sugar, he said. Use them, the Washington Post stated. The quotes were based on an unnamed Republican senator with knowledge of the incident. I don't know if this is true or not, but I mean, a lot of people have come back out to confirm this, and if this is what he said, then fucking wow. What was your take on this?
Oh, I mean, it didn't sound out of character. He's let's see. He seems like someone who's in need of being defended instead of someone that can take matters into their own hands, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. He's you know, he's had his moments of glory where everybody on the right was like yeah, he's sticking up, you know, like during the what's it called, the confirmation for who was the first one, the second one, shoot
Kavanaugh.
Yeah, Kavanaugh, I'm sorry. Yeah, but the you know, but other than his moments of fiery zeal, he's really just you know, a typical authoritarian statist, you know, just not really about personal freedom or anything like that. Sees himself as an elite, knows he's an elite, doesn't really care about people.
And wants to use the state resources to defend himself, it sounds like, too.
Yes, at the expense of others.
Mm-hmm. So, and Tucker ripped into him over this. Fox News ripped into him over this. I ripped into him over this, especially the one line that he used, and I had to paraphrase after that, coming also from this article. Graham has also long slammed the storming of the Capitol, saying on January 7th that warning shots and lethal force should have been used once they penetrated the seat of government. And boy, oh boy, do I know something about penetrating the seat. So that's what we got from Lindsey Graham. Let's go in and look at Yahoo News. The UN says $6 billion from the world's billionaires could solve a hunger crisis. Elon Musk, he will sell his Tesla stock and donate proceeds if the UN can prove that. This is... The billionaire Elon Musk said he'd sell Tesla stock and donate the proceeds if the UN could prove that just a tiny percentage of his wealth could save tens of millions of lives. I mean, if he's going to offer that, I think it's kind of shitty that he won't go back and do that anyway. I mean, if he can afford to lose it, that's the first thing I have to say about that. But there again...
He's about ingenuity, just like most of the world's current billionaires are. You know, we had a while there where the richest people in the world simply accumulated power by stealing it from others. You know, like being potentates, being dictators, being queens and kings, and nowadays most of the most rich people are true innovators, and they would probably prefer to find a way that's innovative to solve the problems rather than throwing money at them.
Right.
Because guess what? The game, he didn't have money to throw at things. I mean, he's been a serial entrepreneur. What was the first one that he was involved with? Was it PayPal? I think he was involved with PayPal. Was it the first one?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. But what he came out there with was like $100 million, which plenty of money, but he was able to, what he was able to do subsequently has been much more impressive. But the flip side of that is, if we were to try to liquidate the wealth of these rich innovators, we would be crippling their companies. We would be crippling their ability to innovate. So, I mean, it's fine, Danny, to talk about, like, if you only had send us as crumbs, but realistically, what are you giving up when you're destroying a company?
Yeah, you're giving up wages for other workers and putting more people back out onto that as well.
I guess, and also, I saw a calculation from one of our friends recently that said, if you want to feed, I think the time frame was a year. If you want to feed all the hungry people for a year, and you use a relatively modest meal, it'd be about $75 billion. So I don't know exactly what he's referring to by what the fellow from the UN was referring to by the $6 billion. Is this like just to feed the people that they want to feed?
And I guess for me, because this would be a huge publicity stunt for my company if I did something like this, but if I was in Musk's shoes and I had that kind of money or liquidatable stock, after I accounted for what liquidating that level of stock would do to my company, because that is going to be an effect on the company. Don't get me wrong, that is going to be a major effect on the company. But if I could find a way to do this without hurting my workers, I would throw $1 billion at them if I had that kind of money to go and say, here you go. You ain't getting any more, but put your money where your mouth is. Go feed this many people. Go feed a sixth of the world population on this. Show me it can be done.
Show me,
but
exactly.
The government can't. The government shouldn't be there to compel him to do it. That's the problem. I would be doing that as a voluntary means. I would say, okay, show me how it's done. You have all the answers.
That's one of the other things that as someone who also has an engineering mindset, I find it kind of irksome the idea of sending a bunch of money a government or large non-governmental organization's way, because they tend to be very inefficient. And in an engineer's mind, efficiency is key to the greater good. And if the more you're castrating the ability to do good in innovative ways, essentially the less good there is in the world, the less good that's being done.
Right. All right, let's keep going here. This one from your neck of the woods here. I don't even know if you know this particular deli or not. Yeah, from ABC 7.
Yeah.
Suspect arrested after throwing a Molotov at a Brooklyn deli and slashing a man. Suspect was arrested after throwing a Molotov at a deli in Brooklyn and slashing a man on the hand on Saturday. According to the police, the incident happened just before 8 a.m. when officers responded to a 911 call of an attack at a deli near Nostrand and Halsey. They say a 38-year-old man allegedly threw a Molotov at the deli on the 496 Nostrand Avenue, which resulted in damage and destruction. They also say he slashed a 23-year-old male victim in his hand. Firefighters responded quickly and brought the fire under control and provided medical treatment for one person with non-life-threatening injuries.
Yeah, Nostrand's about, I don't know, like 3/4 of a mile that way. And I think Halsey's, I'm not sure how far, but it's a little north of here.
Yeah. So probably somewhere where you probably maybe even felt a little bit of the heat off of that.
What's funny is I saw the video and my takeaway was the guy who slapped it out of his hand. That, you saw that thing about the rape on the Philadelphia commuter train.
No.
Okay, well, there was a woman that got raped in broad daylight on a commuter train to Philly, and I'm saying at least there's still some Brooklynites who have balls, right, who are willing to do something and stick up. So I have some hope.
Well, hopefully they stick up against the government. Let's talk about Ron DeSantis and more fucking autoplay. Shut the fuck up, you. Shut the fuck up, Gutfield. Nobody likes you. Florida's DeSantis dubs Biden admin the Brandon administration. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis dubbed the Biden admin the Brandon administration, playing into the popular meme that has liberals in a tizzy. Cheers and chants of Let's Go Brandon erupted after DeSantis made the joke while speaking at an election integrity press conference in Palm Beach Wednesday morning. DeSantis touched on issues facing the conservatives, such as big tech, the Republican gains in Virginia on Tuesday, and the corporation's woke agenda. Not only are we going to talk about this, let's listen to him, because this was epic.
If you look at that, if you look at what's going on with some of the big corporations with their woke agenda, when you look at the Brandon administration in terms of what they're doing.
That wasn't a correction. That was saying intentionally. Yeah.
You know, I don't even know, like, do you know how that started? Like, it was, and like, you know, you have the media, they're hand-wringing over this.
All right, so off of that, yeah, that's definitely one to listen to and go off with this. And you remember the little Twitch spurg that, I think you were watching Contemporary at the time when we talked about this, and the little Twitch spurg that was going nuts about that? Like, he was going crazy about that.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. People act like he's like some kind of saint or something. You know, I mean,
yeah.
Like, look, the dignity does not come from the office. The dignity comes from when you are doing well by people rather than screwing them out of their jobs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just check something really, really quickly. 1 second here.
All right, I'll keep going off of this, but it says. The Governor DeSavage just skewered Biden, and I can't think of a better way to state that. Let's talk about the plant for half a second here. Marjorie Taylor Greene racks up $48,000 in fines for mask mandates and issued a statement off of this. Reading from the Daily Wire, Marjorie Taylor Greene has racked up nearly $50,000 in fines for not complying with the House Chamber's mask mandate. According to House Ethics Committee, Greene has been fined at least 7 times for refusing to comply with a mask mandate. She has been documented nearly 24 times for bucking the mandate, said a letter dated October 28th from the House Sergeant-at-Arms William Walker, the Examiner reported. And here we go with the list. You have been observed not wearing a mask on July 29th, August 2nd, September 20th, 21st, 23rd, 24th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, and October 1st, 12th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 25th, 26th, and 27th. Greene, however, remains adamant that she will not comply with the mask mandate. I will continue my stand on the House floor against authoritarian Democrat mandates because I don't want the American people to stand alone, the Republican said in a statement on Monday.
It's kind of epic that the Ethics Committee is issuing this. The Ethics Committee they're issuing a complaint about someone not following an unethical mandate. I mean, nothing speaks more to congressional mind frame than that. You know, it's classic how the Ethics Committee has always been like. Basically, like a tit for tat area instead of an actual place for thinking about ethics.
Mm-hmm. It's just funny to me because she's being the one that's being popped by this, and do
you think she's actually going to be forced to pay it? How are they going to force her to pay it either? You know,
I believe it is taken directly out of her congressional salary, as how the rules were set up when they did this. I remember talking about this when they first came in and discussed putting this into place.
I wish those private jet joints would come out the same way.
Yeah, that would be something. Here's a weird story that came up here, and I talked about this morning. Project Veritas caught up in a probe of Biden daughter's stolen diary. According to a report, this is from Carolyn Vakil. The conservative group, Project Veritas, appears to be caught up in an investigation that federal authorities are conducting regarding a diary stolen from President Biden's daughter, Ashley Biden. The New York Times, a former newspaper, citing two people briefed on the unfolding events, reported Friday that agents went to the town of, this is closer to you, did I pronounce this correctly this morning? Mamaroneck? Mamaroneck, okay. I looked at that, I'm like, what the hell kind of a name is this? In Westchester County.
I think it's one of those Indian tribes.
As well as locations in New York City to conduct two court-ordered searches on Thursday. The areas were tied to people who worked with Veritas and the group's founder and CEO James O'Keefe, the Times reported. The FBI's division told The Hill that it had no specific comment on the report. So this goes back to a diary that was obtained and released to the public by not Project Veritas directly, but a subsidiary of Project Veritas. I believe that is, what was the name off of this? Flyover Media was the one that released this back out of here. Before, it was 3 weeks or so before the election came out. So it was an October surprise. And nobody paid attention. I didn't even hear about this until Friday when they went and busted down his door.
I thought they'd initially held off on doing it because they were having a hard time verifying it. And now that the FBI showed up, that kind of verifies it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like the authenticity of this diary has been verified.
That's what I would say and come back off of this. But I mean, a year later, I don't understand. And something that most people didn't even know about. It looks like even at the time, O'Keefe looked at this, says, I can't verify this. I can't verify the legality of me having this. Here, law enforcement, come and have this. Because I can't verify that it's either real or it's legal for me to own. Have it. Like, he cooperated completely at the time. Yeah. And now here we are, a year and 1 week later.
I'm not sure what they were looking for then, you know?
Yeah.
After that, I mean, after they've been given what they ostensibly were there for, I don't quite understand it.
And I mean, the content of this we can sit back and discuss forever with the showers and everything else, and but before Friday, I didn't even know Joe Biden had a daughter.
Yeah, that she's the only biological child of him and Jill, Dr. Jill. Excuse me. Oh my God, I said it out loud.
Oh yeah, no, that we might get some sexism there.
In fact, while they were conceiving the child, oh, Dr. Jill. Oh, Dr. Jill.
Oh, that was something I didn't need to hear of. One from NPR over something else that happened over the weekend that got a little bit covered up off of this. 8 people dead and several injured at Travis Scott's Astroworld Music Festival. So, in the NPR article is just basically a discussion off of this, but we discussed this at length. Well, not really at length. We were running up on the clock, but we discussed this a bit. Stephen actually discussed this more at length than we did over on Contemporary this morning, talking about the fact of, I mean, what happened here and what went on. I don't even know what happened. It seems like they saw Drake and they just tried to go back and rush the stage. People got trampled, and then Travis Scott kept singing. I have no idea who Travis Scott is. I have no idea who Drake is.
A crapper.
I know nothing about this. What's that?
A rapper. A rapper. He, supposedly the performers weren't aware of the severity of the situation at the time. It was kind of like a stampede effect, and my brother always points out whenever one of these kinds of situations happens, he says, if you have more density than one person per square meter or square yard, what you have is not individuals. You have a liquid, essentially.
Yeah. Well, I think we saw a lot of that too in the St. George and the St. Jacob protests the same way.
The way that people would get trampled and stuff like that, and there'd be a need for a medic.
A lot of mob mentality.
Oh yeah.
The selfie fest too, I bet you. But here's the question: what happened to social distancing?
That's not for them.
All right, and the last one that I have here before we get into the main topics, and we'll check in with live chat before we do that here, is one that I found fucking hilarious this morning while I was reading Contemporary. We didn't spend a lot of time on it, but I still thought it was funny. From the Hill, more Democrats watch Fox News during prime time than CNN.
It's like 29 to 25, right?
Yep. More Democrats are watching Fox News during prime time than CNN, according to data per Nielsen MRI Fusion. The data shows that Fox News is watched by 29% of liberal primetime viewers compared to CNN, which garners 25% of those viewers. Only MSNBC, which is watched by 46% of liberal viewers during prime time, has a larger liberal audience at the time than Fox News. And I found this in somebody else's Discord server, not my Discord server, but I decided I needed to yoink this and talk about this morning and on the Red Net Show, just because I know that, because the person in the Discord server asked, how can liberals watch Fox News? And I said, oh, it's probably pretty easy. They're sitting there completely clenched up, sweating. They're going to say something racist. It's going to be racist. It's going to be so racist. I'm going to be the first person on social media to talk about it. I'm going to get clout. Look at me. I'm going to get followers. I'm going to get clout. That's probably how they do that.
Yeah. What was it? There was actually a tweet I saw this morning. I hope you don't mind me going off a little itsy bitsy tangent here, but the guy was talking about how if Brian Seltzer is only being viewed by folks who are watching CNN, and only people who are watching CNN are at airports, but the airport's empty because all the pilots are striking over mandates. Is Brian Seltzer still stupid?
I like that, actually. That's a lot of fun here. All right. Yeah. Stelter is younger than I am, by the way. I still can't believe that. I mean, I do understand that, well, I've taken care of it with some essential oil, but I was getting a little bit thin off the top, but like full bald at 34, what the hell is going on in that dude's life?
Does he have like 12 kids or something?
I don't know. Can you deliver kids out of your butt? Because I think he's one of those.
Is he open?
I don't know, but he gives me that vibe. He trips the gaydar for me.
Maybe he likes to covertly turn Don Lemons into lemonade.
Oh, you had to get spicier than I did, didn't you?
Occasionally.
All right, let's see what the live chat is saying. Let's see what these guys are doing. And then we will get in. We'll talk about Rittenhouse. Saint is here. He says, good evening, bitches. Katie Zed says, good day, friends. Seawall is here in his upgunned Panzer IV, loading the main gun with white pills. Yeah, we'll be talking about some white pills, especially with the Rittenhouse trial in just a bit here. Katie Zed says, what the heck, Quest? Get your shit together. Yeah, I don't know what was happening over at your place, but...
Oh, the beginning. Okay,
yeah. Yeah, we're at the beginning here.
Okay.
Arvolt is lurking. Katie Zed says, Quest sounds exactly how I expected him to sound.
Good, I think.
Katie Zed, talking about the receiver, says, it can be done, not that I would know. Stephen Ignoramus is here, says, shout out to all my status. He says, Lindsay's penetrating gaze, and the first time it was Gays, and the second time it was Gaze. Leibt to Max is here. Welcome, Leibt to Max. Let's see. Stephen Ignoramus says, gay pal. Lindsey Graham and the gay pals. Leibt to Max says, I thought Quest would sound like Chris Hemsworth as Thor Viking Man.
Sorry to disappoint.
And then she says, yes, although then he would sound Australian, which makes less sense. Elaine Mervine is here, who is a new follow this morning from over on Twitch. Welcome on in. Thank you. Steven says, yeah, you may be cool, but is your brother's named Valor?
That is my brother's name, yes.
Yeah. Ron Helton says, does having the middle name Valor count? Stephen Ignoramus says, let's go. Fanning is what they're saying. Leibt to Max says, would not surprise me. His dad's name is Epic. Steven says, Ron DeSanta saves Christmas. Leibt to Max shows us some emojis. Can I get away with that one from Steven? Do you think?
Oh.
Do you think Susan's watching?
I think we could. I think that we did, for the sake of time constraints, we might have to skip it.
Light the Mac says, but they can they hack the lock in the diary?
Mm-hmm.
Steven says there's a song that's literally called Joe Biden Touches Kids. Ron says if I ran into her on the street, I would call her by her street name. Drake is apparently of the tribe. Let's see. Katie Z says the same way I watch TYT. Steven says chunk yogurt. Life to the Max says 36, one child, he has a wife. Oh, I didn't know that. Mr. Z is here. We have two Zs watching today.
Wait a second. Maybe you're not the only one growing a beard.
Nice. Mr. Z is here. Good evening, peeps. Steven says, damn, didn't know I was dealing with smut lords. Well, you get what you pay for here.
You knew.
And Ron Helton's
I've been trying to control myself.
Ron Helton's got the AOC sticker, and that is where we are at with live chat here. So let's talk Rittenhouse, because that has been the vast majority of my focus for this week, just based on the fact that this is, I mean, that's a local story for me. I lived a mile from where that all happened, and there have been some good things here. We're going to watch some video. We're going to watch the Posobiec video for sure off of this, but I mean, a lot happened last week, and even more happened this week. I have not got to the point in the trial where Greuskreutz admitted that Rittenhouse was acting in self-defense. I got home probably about 3 o'clock today, and I started watching it on double speed, so I've been a little ways into it already, but I don't know if Greuskreutz is going to get back up on the stand. What's up?
I thought I'd sent this, and I didn't send it. I had notes on the phone. Just give me 1 second here. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
Because I can't be looking at the phone on my notes on the phone, you know.
Oh no, I understand.
All right. All good. Sending.
Well, whenever you get
go and talk.
I've got a question for you. Right away off the top of this.
Yeah.
So what's been your general takeaway of this so far from what you've seen? Because I know Katie Z has been watching this religiously this week. And I actually might push Paul off here afterward, just see if we can get Katie Z on for next week as everything draws to the close. I don't know if Katie Z has the capability to come back on for this, but
I mean, one of my takeaways from I think it was today, or was it yesterday that
well, yesterday was Sunday, so they wouldn't have been doing anything yesterday.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah. That Gage Grodenkreutz was there. You know, that he was the one that had a gun and the one that survived, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I can't help, I don't know if anybody's put this together, but one of the major things that has been argued against Kyle Rittenhouse has been that he put himself in a situation, that basically, that he set himself up for this to have happened, and but if you look at what are some of the things that contribute to this? One was they say he crossed state lines, mm-hmm. and the other say he had a gun that he, according to whatever legally he shouldn't have had, right? Now,
yes.
Now, Grodenkreutz, is that how it's pronounced? We know he had a gun, right?
Mm-hmm.
He testified that his permit had expired, mm-hmm. but he believes in the Second Amendment. Therefore, he has a right to have a gun.
Mm-hmm.
He had been at the St. George Floyd protests in Minnesota. He crossed state lines to go to those. He testified that he'd been to 75 different protests as a medic. A medic, just like who else was there as a medic? Kyle Rittenhouse. So we got mm-hmm. we got a medic with a gun who crossed state lines. What's the difference?
Well, and of course, I mean, Greuskreutz would have been not taking his gun off of there. I mean, I've looked at some of this too, and especially with Greuskreutz, that's the one that really bothers me off of this. Huber as well, coming back in from out in Silver Lake. That's on a good day with good traffic. that is a 30-minute drive to come into Kenosha, where they were in Kenosha from Silver Lake. That's way out on the west end of the county, over by Lake Geneva. So yeah, he was in Kenosha County, yes, but I mean that's way the hell out there. But Grosskreutz as well. I understand the difference, because Grosskreutz is what, 33, I think he said. I don't remember.
Yeah, but he had he expired concealed carry permit. It was expired.
Right, and he could have still open carried. I don't want to go over to the legality of the guns just yet off of this, but the concern of the fact that Kyle Rittenhouse put himself in this situation that they keep bringing up by crossing state lines, that he had to travel to get here. Antioch is 15 minutes from downtown Kenosha. You can be in Antioch in 15 minutes. I know I used to go out with a girl that lived in Antioch, and I made that trip quite a bit because I only lived a mile away from where all this happened. Gage came from West Allis. 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
How can you come back and not say that he inserted himself into this? Or Hoover?
Mm-hmm.
Or even
It's
Rosenbaum, if you really want to stretch that much out there, because he got kicked out of his old lady's place, and that's the first place he went, was downtown.
He was right across the street. He was right across the street at the mental hospital. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what was the other thing? Oh, go ahead.
So, and that's what I want to kind of focus on here, because the Grosskreutz thing, that's just like breaking today. So this is, and I don't have a lot of news or notes or articles off of this, but I want to focus on the Rosenbaum thing, because that seemed to be what the big focus was on the first week of this. And that's even, I mean, going back to the opening statements, that's actually what I want to start with here, is talking about the opening statements off of this. Now, the defense gave a lengthy opening statement that seemed to be meandering into nowhere. I'll talk about the defense a little bit later and my tinfoil on that one. But at the beginning of the defense's opening statement, the defender, I can't think of his name either, but there have been two defenders that have come off here. But the defense attorney counsel came up, and the immediate request that he had before he gave his opening statement was if he could talk about Rosenbaum's hospitalization.
His state of mind when he approached Rittenhouse.
Mm-hmm. Now, that's important to me because, well, there's a little bit of irony in the fact of where he died as well. I'll talk about that in just a second. But from my understanding, and I did look this up, it appears that Joseph Rosenbaum had gone, because he's been having some mental problems. He had antidepressants. That was actually put up into this as well, that he hadn't gone back and refilled his antidepressants. He had an altercation with his fiancée at the time, which resulted in a no-contact order. And at some point, I believe, given the timeline, I got to think about this for a second, because I got to think about what day this actually happened. So it would have been during the riots, but not right away, because that happened on the third night, if I remember correctly. This was all on a Tuesday. What's that?
On the shoot me, N-word, shoot me?
No, I want to back up just off of this.
Okay.
Because he at some point threatened to commit suicide and was put onto a suicide hold. Which when they put you on suicide hold in Kenosha, I know because I've unfortunately been there myself, they bring you over to Frederick KMH, Kenosha Memorial Hospital, which is across the street from the car dealership where he chased Rittenhouse through. And where he wound up ultimately dying as well from the gunshot wounds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he had just, and according to the notes that the defender brought out, that the judge has not decided whether or not they're admissible yet, which they are, is that, yes, he had just been on a 24-hour suicide hold. He left the hospital. He went immediately to his girlfriend's house, and he had a charge against him for going and violating his no-contact order. As soon as he was removed from the premises, he wasn't taken to jail. That's a fine in Wisconsin. As soon as he was removed from the residence for violating the no-contact order, he went immediately back downtown, which is, yes, where the defender, and that was another thing off of this, proceeded to quote Joseph Rosenbaum, because repeatedly, before the chase that ended everything else, was screaming, as you said, shoot me N-word, shoot me N-word. And by the way, how based was it that the judge on court TV, live streaming both to televisions under the FCC guidelines And YouTube TOS screamed out, "Shoot me!" Full on hard R N word.
Hard R. Yeah.
Hard R, the hardest of R's. Right on Court
like he's
TV.
said before or something. Yeah.
Right on Court TV. And like for the internet, that's nothing. I mean, that's something that gets said on the Daily Ignoramus on a daily basis. So for YouTube, that's up and above nothing. But to have that on cable television, Court TV, I hope to God they had a delay off of there, because otherwise the FCC rather had 4 fines sitting there waiting for him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That was actually very briefly. That was why I felt bad for the reporter at the race with the Let's Go Brandon, because I think she was covering. She was like, oh crap. Yeah, you misheard that. You must have misheard that. Yeah, no way we're getting a fine for that. Yeah. But also, I mean, Rosenbaum is like, I mean, it's a really sad character. I mean, like he was regularly before he became a child predator, he was regularly sexually abused by his father for a period of years and stuff like that. And I mean, it's terrible seeing the cycle of abuse continue and stuff like that. And so, I mean, he was obviously he probably should have still been receiving mental health care. And it is a tragedy, but you can't go attacking people. You can't go attacking people and expect not to have consequences to your actions.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw some of the statements over the weekend too, where I mean, the Marine was telling us that, Rosenbaum himself was like, what was the word that he used? He was line stepping. That was one of them. But like, I can't
stepping forward and going backward. Yeah.
Yeah. Stepping in. Come on, do something. Like just stepping in right over that line.
Provocative. Yeah. And he also, I believe he had wasn't, who was it that testified that he had actually said to Kyle, "If I see you again, I'm going to kill you."
That was Gage today.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And that was some of the other things that came out throughout the testimony today too. I will fully admit I didn't watch any of the testimony from Friday. So that was the one day that I skipped. But yeah, I've been pretty much catching up on everything else on double speed throughout the days after work. And there's been some lightning stuff. The biggest thing that I have taken away from this is I don't know if the prosecution actually wants to be prosecuting this case.
No, I think they want to have done the prosecution so they can say that they did it. They don't. I mean, I don't know if there's a divide between the district attorney and the individual prosecutor. If there's like, if the district attorney is a little bit more interested in a win, but yeah, the facts don't line up with the charges. At least the ones that we have before us, which are, I believe, plentiful.
Yeah.
At this point, it's pretty plentiful. I mean, it would have to be quite the curveball to show that. I mean, like, oh look, he's got a briefcase and he's got pictures of all these people. Oh okay, then he was targeting people. But like, where is the guilt coming from here? Like, it's laughable.
Well, and the only thing the prosecutor seems to be bringing forward is the fact that he keeps trying to tell us and tries to drive the point home that Rosenbaum was unarmed, which I legitimately
the point of arms is to protect yourself from some crazy person who's trying to get you. Yeah. You don't stop using your arms just because someone else is unarmed.
So I want to take one of the videos here. So this was from the Daily Caller. This video was put out here. And this is just a brief snippet of the video that was put out where he actually interviewed Rittenhouse, breaking several FCC laws, by the way, considering the fact that he was a minor and had no way to do a release. We can be completely aside from that. But this was one of the other things, because the prosecution tried to bring this out and tried to make the claim. What's that? I haven't started playing it. No, this is the Daily Caller one. Okay. Cardinal Truth would be the name on the tweet, Mr. Cardinal Truth. But I'll be playing it up here because I mean, that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to come out and say Rittenhouse misrepresented himself. That's the other charge they're trying to bring up against him. He tried to say he was a medic, he was an EMS, and he wasn't certified for that. That was I think the big part of the Grosskreutz testimony this morning, was the fact that Grosskreutz himself was an EMT. He had a license for this, and they went through to try and say, okay, well, this is what you have to do to become an EMT. This is what you have to do for this. And I will say this, that it may be a misdemeanor to misrepresent yourself as an EMT, but if he's there and he's actually offering aid, that's another thing altogether. But let's listen to what they had to say. Let me get this over here.
You doing out here? Obviously you're armed, and you're in front of this business we saw burning last night, so what's up?
So people are getting injured, and our job is to protect this business, and part of my job is to also help people. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle, because I need to protect myself, obviously, but I also have my med kit.
You doing out here? Obviously.
So, and then, I mean, that's him coming out and saying that he's there, he's putting himself in harm's way to go back and help people. I don't know. And this has been an interesting thing, because they always said that Rittenhouse was a bit conservative. But living in Antioch, Illinois, even though, yes, he was a minor, I actually have a hard time believing that. Just knowing the lay of the land out there. I mean, he probably is now, but at the time. Are you muted?
No, I just have no further insight to that. Sorry.
Oh. So, and there again, I mean, this is a statement of intent off of this. There's another one here later in the night. Rittenhouse gets into a verbal altercation with a man named Rosenbaum, a convicted sex offender, which honestly, that doesn't matter in the midst of all this. But I do want to take a second and watch this video too. And then the last one that Cardinal Truth has on this, we'll actually be looking at with the Posobiec video. So let's get this one up on the screen. And that's him, like right there, the short little bald guy that seems to have little guy syndrome, that's out there screaming the insults. When the camera kind of focuses back in on him.
Shoot me, nigga! Shoot me, nigga! Bust on me, nigga, for real!
And I mean, that's the first thing. And one thing I didn't catch the first time I watched this video too was it does look like Rosenbaum tried to sneak up behind somebody and tried to pickpocket either a gun or something out of a backpack. I didn't catch that the first time I watched this.
Mm-hmm. He was acting very suspicious. I mean, that's not a normal behavior, no.
And that's one of the disappointments that I had with the fact that the defense tried to get the state of mind, the suicide watch, the suicide the hold thrown out of this. Because if Rosenbaum was trying to commit suicide by counter-protester, which it really does appear that he was, that actually changes the entire scope of this investigation and this trial. That completely changes everything about this.
It means that he's of the mindset to create the confrontation himself rather than be a mere victim. And remember how that word victim, whether or not you could use that word in the trial, came up very early on, right?
Yeah, and Grosskreutz actually got himself a sustained objection today, because when he was talking about What's that? Yeah, the
He used
murder,
word
the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched him murder Anthony Hoover. Like, no, we haven't determined that this was murder or self-defense yet. That's for the jury to decide. So, and that completely changes everything over, because if he was out there, then yeah, he was the aggressor in all of this, and I can't see any difference off this. I want to share the video that
There's one element that video kind of it gives a little bit of, but like I think all of it does together is an element of chaos in the whole scene. You know, that like after the confrontation between Rittenhouse and Rosenbaum, when Kyle's trying to make his way out, right? You have Gordon Krause thinking that this guy's an active shooter. You've got what's his name, Hudson, thinking that he's the other guy that ended up dead. You got him thinking like
Hoover, not Hudson.
What? Hoover? I'm sorry.
Hoover.
Yeah. But you have him thinking that he's got to take this guy down because he's an active shooter. I mean, the guy's walking away, doesn't have his hands on his gun, right? I'm not quite understanding that, but I think the part of it, this is an element of chaos. There might have really been some genuine misunderstanding at play, but you can't go hitting people in the head with a skateboard. You can't be a vigilante. You can't take the law in your own hands and try, even if you think that this guy had done something, go tell the cops. The cops are right there. They're literally down the block. You know?
And at the time they were actually trying to hurt people further down Sheridan Road, away from the main protest. That was what we saw when Rittenhouse went to go turn himself in with his hands up, was the armored vehicle coming down Sheridan Road to hurt people that direction. Yeah.
Well, but also that's another thing with that particular part when he was going past him, that he seemed to make an effort to, according to the police testimony, he came toward them and they didn't want him coming toward them.
Right.
You know? They brandished, one of them brandished a gun, the other one, whether or not it was effective, sprayed out pepper spray. I mean, if he wanted to surrender himself, he sure didn't have an opportunity. I mean, I don't know that there was this whole thing of if he was black, he would have been shot or something like that. I don't think so. I mean, it seems like they were kind of aggressive toward him, but they also weren't looking to be arresting him.
Let's actually watch the main piece of evidence to this video that I've seen. This has been broken up and recompiled by Posobiec, and I mean, you as a watcher of Contemporary have seen this numerous times, because I kept backing up and looking over this over and over and over again. I think people were getting sick of this on that morning when this video came out here. But let's
was so much going on in parallel to try to understand what exactly, to sort it out. You know what I'm saying?
All right, let's watch and see what's happening here. This is the actual incident right before and right after Rosenbaum got shot. No audio on this part. Oh, there it comes. There's Rittenhouse, as highlighted, running away. Running toward or running away. It's unclear at this point, but it does look like there are people that are pursuing him. But yelling, does anybody need medical?
Trailer.
Rosenbaum down there.
Yeah, these people wait.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they definitely need that trash can to put their garbage out. Oh, he's blocking the road. So now we're out by Frederick. I see a large crowd over here smashing the SUVs.
So, and that's where I'm going to stop that there. So there's Zeminski's, the two of them are running down the road. They're the first people highlighted off of this.
I think.
And then off the side, you see Rosenbaum and Rittenhouse. And, I mean, we did just see Rittenhouse running, but it's unclear as to because he was yelling if anybody needs medical. I don't know if he was running towards somebody to go treat them or whatnot, or where the change is. But that was the defense's main point to this, was that Rittenhouse was running after Rosenbaum before this. And that was the other interesting. Once again, I would need to find proof of intent that Rittenhouse was pursuing Rosenbaum at the time, because I've not seen any proof of intent. I can see the appearance that he was pursuing because of a distance between the two, Rittenhouse behind Rosenbaum, but that doesn't prove intent. That seems to be the part the defense is having a hard time with, is that does that prove intent? And it doesn't.
You mean
but then backing this, what's that?
You said that they're having a hard time proving that Rittenhouse's intent.
Yeah, his intent to go and commit harm to Rosenbaum.
Mm.
From all I can see is they were just both generally running off in the same direction, together, not together, but probably 30 feet apart, judging from the distance off of that. But I do want to back this up then and just point to this as well. Where's the one that I want? So it appears that at some point Rosenbaum ran back and hid between, it was, I believe, a Pontiac and then a Duramax that were sitting here, because the original statement was that he was sitting in plain view on the screen up here outside the tire of this Cadillac. But no, we can see that he actually ran up and ran between these cars and caught Rittenhouse into a sort of pincer movement where they came back and trapped him in here. And then Rittenhouse sidesteps around and runs up into the car source. There's where Rosenbaum threw a bag at him, the bag of all of his belongings that he had just taken back from KMH. And we heard of course, right after the throw of the bag, we heard the shot that was Zeminski's shot, which by all universes, chaos. Yeah, by all universe, the shot from Zeminski should be charged as inciting all of this, because your back is turned, you're being chased, and something was just thrown at you, and you hear a shot behind you. What do? Especially once and you can see where he's cornered between 5 other cars here. You're cornered. What do? And then the guy that just cornered you just grabbed your gun.
I mean, there's not. He was in a bad spot there, and Zeminski was just at very best reckless, at very best. Otherwise, I mean, I don't know what was in his head.
No, I don't either. And there's Rosenbaum screaming "fuck you" and grabbing the gun. And that was the other. When the Daily Caller reporter was up on the stand.
Yeah.
How do you know what the mindset of Rosenbaum was? Well, he said "fuck you" and grabbed the gun.
Yeah.
And then 4 shots ring out.
Hey!
And then, he steps back, and you saw some of the other video that he grabbed his phone. He tried to call it and say, okay, I just had to shoot somebody. What do I do now?
Mm-hmm. But it was a little bit of a fluid situation, so he had to get going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, of course, from there, a few minutes later, we saw the shooting of Anthony Huber swinging the skateboard and Gage Grosskreutz, who lost his arm for his trouble.
Yeah, I mean, he there was a moment on the stand today where he just in admitting that he had the gun pointed at Rittenhouse as he was approaching him. I mean, that makes it pretty plain that there was self-defense. I mean, it's one thing to have your hand on the gun, maybe even to have it out of where it was resting in his back, but but to point it at him, yeah, I think he's not going to get that money. He's not going to get that sweet lawsuit money.
Yeah, I haven't even seen that part of the testimony yet because from just looking at the timestamps from when they started versus where I've seen to it, they must have brought him back up on the stand at some point because he stepped down and I didn't hear that part yet. But yeah, we'll be seeing that definitely for sure off of this. And I mean, there's some tainted sides to Kenosha about this too. I can't believe that they were able to find an untainted jury on either side because there are a lot of people that are out there that are completely convinced of his innocence, and there are a lot of people out there that are completely convinced of his guilt, no matter what. I wanted to bring this story up just for posterity, essentially, because we talked about this on Monday before the trial started. Hope as a Christian, Kenosha pastor wants Rittenhouse convicted, and I'm going to read a little bit from the Daily Wire on this one. A Kenosha pastor has hope as a Christian that Rittenhouse, who says he was acting in self-defense when he fatally shot 2 rioters this past summer, will be convicted. The Reverend Jonathan Barker, who leads Grace Lutheran Church in Kenosha, said it will set a dangerous precedent for the people's rights to free speech and assembly if Rittenhouse is not convicted, NPR reported on Monday. I have deep concerns about how this will go, and I've been disappointed, Barker said. I'm ready for anything, but I want to be a person of hope as a Christian and as a pastor. The pastor was allegedly told to stay away from the courthouse during the trial because it would become a hub of white nationalism, NPR noted, which I was there, and it was 13 black nationalists and a Pan-African flag.
Well, they're just very deeply suppressing their white supremacy. That's all.
That's very Christian of this pastor too, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very much so,
The interesting thing that I wanted to note about this, on top of the fact that, I mean, yes, all of Kenosha is prejudiced one way or the other off of this, is the fact that the reverend of this church, this was the church I used to go to when I lived in Kenosha. I am Lutheran. So I've attended this church. He wasn't the reverend at the time. I don't recognize the name. But I do recognize the church name. And this was also the church that Biden spoke at when he went down to visit during the St. Jacob riots.
Interesting.
So being 6 days in,
it must be like one of the more kind of a hub of that community.
Yeah, it's also an ELCA church, ELCA. Mm-hmm. They're very liberal as far as synods go in the Lutheran Church.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Wells. They're very conservative. Wells is so conservative that the pastor at the church I grew up in wouldn't marry my parents in there because they'd been living together. They got married in the church, but they had to do it in the lobby by a justice of the peace.
My mother grew up Lutheran and my dad Catholic, and they.
Are you from Wisconsin?
What's it called? But they it was like relatively. I think what was it 76? No, 73. They got married. 73, I think. 72 or 73. They got married. But the can you see me? There we go. But yeah. What's it called? But it was relatively early in the time that neither of them had to convert, that they could actually have one ceremony. Initially, they were thinking of doing 2 ceremonies or something like that. It was like a little bit of an odd time. The first priest they went to said that said something like that she'd have to convert, and it's like, and so they're like screw you, guy. they went elsewhere. Anyways, so, that's a little bit of a tangent.
That's fine. Just as we go off on this, we'll go check live chat in just a moment. With 6 days into this, what's your takeaway of where this lands so far? And do you think there could be jury shenanigans?
I honestly don't think there could be. I think that the question is whether or not people are really paying attention to the trial, or if we're going to try to get some distractions so that people get angry when they see a result that they didn't think they were supposed to get. I mean, anybody who's paying any attention to this that has more than 2 brain cells to rub together is going to see what a clear-cut case there. This is that there's there's nothing to hold his feet to the fire for. He's going to end up with like a weapons charge or something like that. And the rest of it's going to just go away. Like maybe he's going to end up doing community service, like clean graffiti off of buildings and stuff like that, which he already does.
All right. Let's do some live chat here. Looks like we've got a very, very busy one off of this. Well, this one actually does bring a lot of people out for this. Let's see. Let's back up to the top here. Oh, wow. There's a lot of stuff here. Katie Z says, I can talk Rittenhouse all day. I'll reach out to Katie and see. Unfortunately for Paul, I might have to bump him if that's the case, because we might have Katie on for next week. We'll talk about that. Mr. Z says she can. Steven says, sup Zeds, big crowd here. Chilaga was here briefly. Looks like he took off already. He's late. What's up? Welcome in. Katie Zed's been working in the meme factory. Mr. Z says, I'm getting her set up with a mic that doesn't make her sound like she's in a vacant warehouse. Life at a max. You posted some originals, right? Stephen Ignoramus says, gross roids. Let's see. AIDS grows cruiser. That was a little bit of a stretch, Stephen. Oh, gross crust. Grows crust. That's what it was. Let's see. What else do we have? Mr. Z says, I do what I want. Stephen says he is 32 and half a bicep. Ron says, too young to carry that rifle, but old enough to be tried as an adult. The people running this persecution are political hacks and morons. Second. Let's see. Katie Z and Life to the Max are going back and forth. Says, because I run into random live chats that have nothing to do with ignorance all the time. Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru showed up. Welcome on in. Steven says, guys, Neph is here. Stop talking smack about him. Ron says the fact that he had a rifle is irrelevant. He was being chased and tried to disarm him. This is a waste of taxpayer money for a clear case of self-defense. Never give your weapon to a stranger. Katie Z called me and said he was actually in a hospital in Milwaukee. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised by that, because I thought that they did the 24-hour holds at KMH, but he might have gone to St. Luke's. That actually might have happened.
Wait, so you crossed state lines?
No, St. Luke's is in Milwaukee.
Okay.
Stephen Ignoramus says, shoot me N-word is how I speak to my photographer friends. The Breakdown with Birkenhoff is here. Welcome in. Mr. Z says, I want a photographer friend. Katie Z says, shoot me Negus.
Why do we need a warm beverage? It's not that cold out.
Steven says, I literally have an N-word pass. I probably do too, but I don't want to try it. Let's see. Mr. Z just wants shots.
Susan.
We grow, please, said Stephen Ignoramus. Unarmed, I see what you did there, says Katie Z. Chilaga says, I'm just going to say it. Quest's voiced accent is solid. Really going to improve on his live chats in my mind. Yeah, a lot of these people, this is the first time hearing you, so.
So they don't like my voice?
No, they seem to enjoy it, actually.
Okay. All right, cool.
Ron Helton says, offering first aid, not medical care. I was not an EMT, but when I was Kyle's age, I worked for the town ambulance service and went on emergency calls. Steven says, I'll read Katie's chats in your standard government officer voice. Yeah, that would be Katie Fed. The ambulance service and funeral home were in the same building, owned and operated by an ex-Green Beret. Was there when they brought in one of my classmates who had drowned. That's sad. F in the chat. Steven says, why is everything pink in the video? Rosie Glow of a Footlocker says, right, life to the max. Ron says, Rosenbutt was a loon who should have been committed. Steven says, what's for dinner, Zeds? Wiretap waffles, snitch and steak, entrapment empanadas. The Katie Fed joke lives on. All right, Chalaga had to go. Thanks for popping in here. Steven says, I think we can all agree that this is the fault of white supremacy. Fault of the Supreme, says Mr. Zed.
Not
Steven
just
got
supremacy.
nauseated by the I'm guessing it was from the liberal synod. Stephen, I'll talk to you about that synod in just a sec after the show here, because there was something that happened there when I was going there that I think would appall you even more. Stephen kind of wants to go to Kenosha. Mr. Zed says Lord Biden and his church visits are amazing. The Cheese Castle is epic. That was me. The cheese in Wisconsin is just better, says Katie Zed. I think the cult should have a Midwestern meetup. I'm in. Chicago meetup the next time Katie's in Chicago for sure. The way he said Negus made my night. All right, let's talk about this election day, because that was the next thing that really popped up throughout this week. So as we sat throughout this week, we saw the Virginia election on several delegate seats, several senatorial seats, the attorney general seat, and the lieutenant governor seat. All happened. That election was on Tuesday. Excuse me. On top of that, we had several New Jersey delegate seats and Senate seats as well, one of which we have to come back and focus on, and a ballot initiative in Minnesota that we've got to talk about. So I want to start off with talking about what happened in Virginia. And of course, the first thing that we had to come out with is the fact that it was put out in Loudoun County, Virginia, that right before all this happened at one of Youngkin's last rallies, Mr. Gary Grumbach found this photo and was very appalled by it here. Photo showing what appears to be a man and a woman, a man in a denim jacket with a fresh, crisp, clean Confederate flag up on the back, and a hat so clean, fresh, and crisp.
Unused, yes.
That looks like he just went and got it off the shelf. So they tried to throw everything at this guy right at the end, and it couldn't prevail. Mm-hmm. And of course, go ahead.
They're not getting it that the Trump boogeyman is only going to go so far, and this whole narrative that every single thing that I disagree with is white supremacy and institutional blah 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 and gobbledygook. This is, sensible people with more than room temperature IQ eventually will figure you out. They're going to figure out that you're bullshitting them. This is the race baiters and the just, orange man bad crew. They haven't run out of gas yet, but they're really running low.
Yeah. The full results aren't at this point, with 99% expected vote. And as we saw on Wednesday, even by this point here, Glenn Youngkin has come through. I mean, just look at all that red on the Virginia map. That is incredible for something that we were told for so long was not in play. This was a Democrat stronghold. This is going to be the bellwether for what the rest of the Biden administration is going to be like. If Virginia, because Virginia, the election is so important, Youngkin, why is he even running? And I also want to point out the fact that a state in almost every seat that was challenged this time through, especially on statewide races, Glenn Youngkin won a statewide race in a state that touches Beltway.
Yeah, there's so many people who depend for their living on a bloated federal government, and the associated state policies that go with it.
The final counts show that Youngkin came in at 50.65% of the vote. McAuliffe had 48.65 vote, and Princess Blanding, marked as other, came in at 23,060 votes, or 0.7% of the vote. So, I mean, it's not like she could have even spoiled the election. Now, we watched through this the entire night, and it did look, and we saw several, well, we need to recount, we need to re-hand scan, we need to do this, we need to do that, especially in Fairfax County. Loudoun County went blue. I was really surprised about that.
loud and proud.
But I mean, just to look at this here and just to see the results that were pouring in throughout the night. I mean, Youngkin was like double digits ahead throughout the entire night.
I mean, part of you also got to consider is specifically Terry McAuliffe making a very bad miscalculation on the education and parents issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on two fronts. I mean, you remember, obviously everybody remembers him saying that kind of it was probably a misstatement in a way that whether teachers should be saying what the schools are teaching. You know, it's like obviously like I get that you want the professional educators to figure out what the curriculum is and all this other stuff, but to say he practically said they shouldn't have a role in that, and instead of and he had an opening, he had an opportunity to you know kind of walk it back a little, you know, and he should have known to do that. That's you know he's a Clinton alumnus, you know, he know that. I mean, if the Clintons know how to do something, so walk something back. But he did not take that move. He just stepped right into that dog shit.
Yeah. And I mean, especially given the fact, I mean, the importance that you yourself put on education. I mean, you spent a half an hour debating homeschool on a live stream for charity. I was there. Mm-hmm. This is something that's huge to you, and I love listening to that about you. You're front and center at the issues that are at hand, where parents are sick of what their kids are learning in the public schools.
You also got to figure that after like a year or so, you know, give or take, depending on what exactly a given school system was doing, of parents seeing a little bit more directly what was going on in the classroom, or you know, the surrogate for what was going on in the classroom, that you know, you can only slap so much lipstick on that pig.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But I was happy to see this. I definitely was. And I don't even like Republicans, and I was happy to see this. Mm-hmm. Because the problem that I have more
of this attitude that you know, that the parent shouldn't have any control, that the parent that you know, I mean, I don't want to go back too far in history. Well, I don't want to dwell in the deep history, but you think about the most prominent and effective proponent of compulsory public schooling was Horace Mann, and he homeschooled his own children instead. You know, even though he wanted the immigrants' children sent to public schools, the immigrants didn't have. You had like Catholics coming into this country and stuff like that. They didn't have a proper Protestant work ethic. That's the American way, is the Protestant work ethic, right? So that was the mindset of these are lazy people. These are people who have different morals than the rest of us, and we're going to teach their kids the way that they should be thinking, rather than leaving them to their parents to teach. And it was also didn't hurt that, you know, it made for convenience for parents, that they would be able to just hand the kid off and, you know, it'll be taken care of. Mm-hmm. Anyways, not to go off on a rant there.
Well, and I mean, I'm looking at this too. We got to talk about what the Democrats should have taken away from this versus what they did take away from this. I do want to point out before we get into that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we get into that, I do want to point out one other thing, because a lot of people said that this election was Hong Konged. I believe that they tried to Hong Kong this election because McAuliffe wiped out 12 percentage points of difference within a couple of hours at the 11th hour coming off of this. I firmly, strongly believe that this election got Hong Konged. They just didn't have enough ballot printer ink to Hong Kong it enough to pull it over the end, to pull it over the finish line. 12 points in a couple hours is no fucking joke. And that's where I said with the black pills too. I mean, go ahead. Yes, understand the fact that Democrats are going to try to rig every election coming out here. Make it fucking hard for them. Even if you believe they're going to rig it, get up off your couch. Make sure that they have to overcome every single vote that's against them.
The more they do it, the more they're putting at risk. That's part of why, I mean, I kind of assert that, you know, there's reason to believe that it's somewhere like New York City here, where legitimately the vast majority of folks do vote Democratic, okay? Mm-hmm. But there, you know, a given candidate within a primary, that kind of stuff can can be fudged and stuff like that. You have, I believe there's a degree of manipulation perhaps at play, but you can only do so much before. If you do something too blatant, then you're risking that it will be all uncovered, and then suddenly there's much more scrutiny, and now you can't even get away with that little tweak that you wanted to do, that little fortification of the vote. That so you got to wonder in different places what the threshold is and how blatant you have to get to make a win happen.
Mm-hmm. Now, we started, and I cut you off because I wanted to talk about the numbers off of this, but Democrats should have taken a lesson off of this, and I don't think they're going to.
I really wonder whether the propaganda end of things is completely in line with the strategy end. Do they want to start off with saying this is white supremacy, this is just parents getting scared because they're afraid that the kids are going to learn that racism exists or has ever existed, or that bad things have ever happened, right? Or maybe they want to keep pressing that message, but maybe they'll still on a strategy level realize that folks don't like their bullshit policies,
right?
The reason that a lot of folks came out and voted, whether or not be 81 million people or perhaps a few fewer, came out and voted for Biden, was not for Biden. It certainly wasn't for Democrats' more fringe policies. It was against Donald Trump's personality. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of Republicans who agreed with him on policy and just couldn't stomach voting for him. So I mean, if they take, I wonder whether this is a rhetorical front right now, and they're going to trim back to tell the AOCs, et cetera, to take a seat and shut up, mm-hmm. or if they really are stupid enough to alienate the middle half of the country. Yeah, when I say middle half, I mean like politically. I don't mean geographically. I mean the middle half politically.
No, and I understand where you're going with that too. That's the lesson they should have taken away from this, especially given the education front. Republicans won on education. Sticks drove that point home on his videos. Republicans won on education for one of the first times in history. And that's the lesson that Democrats need to be taken away from this, is the fact that they are losing on education because they are putting their kids in these indoctrination centers, and the parents are seeing what they're learning. This No Child Left Behind, this Common Core, this other bullshit that Clinton put through. I can't even think of the name of it right now. All these big federal programs that have been dumbing down our education system, and the school from home put that on the front and center. That put things out there where parents knew what the hell was going on and said, mm-hmm. That's enough of this shit. And I don't advocate for going to public school still. Mm-hmm. And I'm a product of public school. I went to public school. It was out in the country, so there was a little bit better student-to-teacher ratio, but still, I went to public school. Even back in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, it was a crap education.
Well, how many hours a day, if you were to be left to your own devices and had some tools to be able to learn a similar stuff, how many hours a day would you have ended up spent to get the same results? Would you have spent on the education and then been able to video game the rest of the day? You probably could have done it 2.5 hours, pounded that shit out, and been mm-hmm. on with your day.
Well, and going on with that too, it's back in the 90s. The homeschool kids were the weird kids. They were the anti-vax kids at the time. They were the religious kids. They didn't really fit in, or they were being homeschooled because they were being bullied so bad in school that they couldn't handle it and they weren't getting any education done, but it was only for specific cases. With the internet coming out here, there's no reason to put kids in public school. The resources are there, and for the most part, you can have them at a tap of a button. I mean, imagine having a device in your pocket that can give you any piece of information almost anywhere in the world at a moment's notice.
Communication is key to social relationships, to mm-hmm. To having access to resources. Also, like homeschoolers, they meet up with each other. It's much easier to organize now with modern communication tools. Franny has a pod group that she meets up with weekly for a few hours, and then there's another group that she's looking to join. There's all kinds of resources available. There's also one thing that Franny is the biggest social butterfly you can ever imagine meeting. She's like way more outgoing than me, and I'm not exactly an introvert. And but the other thing to think about is that a lot of the other aspersions that are cast on homeschoolers are kind of becoming harder and harder to defense that being a reality. For example, African Americans make up the by quite a bit the fastest growing portion of the homeschooling population, probably because they're sick and tired of the public schools in their neighborhoods, and of being taken for granted when it comes to everybody's going to vote for the one party, and we're just going to funnel more money to the teachers, and the teachers union is going to funnel money back to Democrats. Well, tell me in that equation where these African American students are gaining advantage from that system. I don't see it. And I think that a lot of parents are getting wise to that. You also look at it's becoming far less of a religious group,
Right.
As you look at the aggregate community, it's not that they're avoiding learning. I don't want my 9-year-old learning about sex, or I don't want I don't want a globe in the classroom. There's a number of reasons that folks are choosing it that has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with what it does. It doesn't have to do with avoiding your kids learning something. It has to do with giving your children more access to education.
All right. Want to move on here because we're running up on the clock here. I want to talk a little bit about what happened in your neck of the woods, just next door here. Obviously, Phil Murphy has won, and he is going to be the continuing governor of New Jersey. But the interesting race off of this was this one that happened between Edward Durr and New Jersey Senate President Sweeney. Because a lot of people are pissed off at the fact that Mr. Durr won this race by spending $157 into it. Mm-hmm. But as of right now, it is expected that a truck driver from New Jersey is going to win. And I specifically wanted to talk about this one because this is the one that really got me, the one that really got me interested in this. And this is a tweet from Tom Nichols, who goes on Twitter as @RadioFreeTodd. Says, so the guy who defeated the New Jersey Senate president ran because he was denied a concealed carry permit. I'm sure this will go very well and produce a fine, informed legislator. I hate to tell you this, but I can't.
It's a very condescending way to think about people, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I can't think of a better reason to run for office than being aggrieved by your government. Mm-hmm. Can you?
No, because I mean that's the point of representative government is that you get to push back against what the ensconced powers of the world want to have happen in your life. You get to at least try to have a voice. So I mean it comes that mindset comes from a very elitist and off-putting place.
Now, I don't know if it is if he is going to win now or not. It does look like he is, but reading from Fox News this morning, we see that Steve Sweeney has refused to concede at this point because they found thousands of ballots. Honk, honk. Mm-hmm. The results from Tuesday's election continue to come in. For instance, there were 12,000 ballots recently found in one county. Sweeney said in an email to the Philadelphia Inquirer on Thursday. While I'm currently trailing in the race, we want to make sure every vote is counted. Our voters deserve that, and we will wait for the final results. Throw the red nose on.
Yeah, honk, honk. I think that a lot of people don't know that New Jersey is tended to vote mostly Democratic, it's kind of a purple state in ways there, because there's it kind of, a lot of the people there are of that borderline between conservative and East Coast liberal. You know, we've seen a lot of West Coastification of the liberals in New York recently. A lot of, you know, there's a difference between the hard-nosed New Yorker or someone from New Jersey who has a different sensibility, should I say, than a West Coast liberal. You know, that they, I think that there's less ephemera, less bullshit to an East Coast liberal, and there are less of them now. But I think it's a little closer in the spectrum of political spectrum to conservative than a West Coast liberal is.
Well, and then we look at this too on the aspect that we go with this, and just like we talked about with Virginia, and how much red there was in points far Richmond and beyond, and even coming up between Richmond and the Beltway, and how much influence we both conceded the fact that the Beltway has on Virginia. It's probably the same thing, if I had to guess, with New Jersey, where there's a big part of New Jersey out there, but a lot of the political influence has to do with the part that connects to the Holland Tunnel. So the Holland Tunnel or the Lincoln Tunnel?
I don't drive through New Jersey. I avoid it like the plague.
I think it was the Lincoln Tunnel that Ted mentioned on How I Met Your Mother when he was crapping on New Jersey. Go back to that open sewer pipe you call. I believe it was the Lincoln
girl with
Tunnel.
The yellow umbrella lived there.
Yeah.
Weehawken.
There's one other one that popped up on election, but before we do that, I actually want to talk about the ballot initiative that got defeated in Minneapolis. So, reading from NBC News on this one, Minneapolis residents reject proposal to replace police department. Minneapolis voters on Tuesday rejected a proposal to replace the city's police department with a Department of Public Safety, the Associated Press projected. The result is a blow to the nationwide movement to overhaul policing spurred by the police killing of St. George, hallowed be his name, a year and a half ago. And it was some ridiculous number. I wasn't like 55 to 45 or more than that. Like, they didn't want this. They definitely didn't want this. And now you and I could live in a state without police. And, you know, Ron Helton has talked about this too. Ron Helton could probably live in a state without police. But Soccer Mom America, suburban Minneapolis, or even outskirts edges of Minneapolis where the rich people are, they cannot live without police.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun in theory to be like, oh, we're not gonna have any police and stuff like that, but the moment your window gets broken or you know, or heaven forbid someone actually enters your home, it starts to get real there for folks that also want to be disarmed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where I'm saying with the Soccer Mom America, that doesn't play well with them because they want to be able to send their kids out to their big private school, but make sure that they're all safe going there. They don't have to go through any of these neighborhoods that are less than, I don't know, prime. These neighborhoods that are maybe aging and falling apart, these kinds of things. I'm trying to walk that line off of this.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I can understand where there are problems with the police, and obviously we do need to go back and look at some of the police that are out there that are causing problems. But to tell middle class America, who is the largest voting bloc, that no, you know, we're not going to have police, that's not a winning issue. It's not.
I honestly think that the Democrats have gone so much into the mantra of this demographics is destiny thing, where they assume that they're going to keep all the demographics. They assume that none of the black folks are going to leave. They assume that none of the new immigrants are going to go a different direction. They assume that blue collar white Americans are going to stick with them no matter how far they go, because, you know, it's just baked in. You know, they're going to vote with us. At some point, you're going to alienate enough people with your far left politics and your cockamamie schemes that, I don't know if it helps the Republicans or creates a third party or what happens, or if suddenly you just have a split down the center Democrats. I don't know exactly what shape it takes, because there are plenty of people who are offended, who've been so offended by Trump that they'll never be a Republican, but I don't know what shape it takes, but the hubris to assume that your little mantra of demographics is destiny means that everybody has to keep voting the same way they did. When you've changed your party's Overton window, it's again, it's hubris.
And that's where I was saying too, with the lessons they should be learning from this. They're not going to learn this lesson. They're just going to say, "Oh, it was more white supremacists out there."
Yeah, it seems. I don't know. It seems like there are a lot of them these days, aren't there?
Yeah. Oh, white supremacists. They're the most open and diverse group out there. There are black white supremacists. There are Mexican white supremacists. There are Jewish white supremacists. One of them runs the Daily Wire.
Tomorrow is the 32nd anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. That was the result of anti-government protests that brought down the East German government. And that's the kind of thing that when Jim Brennan's talking about libertarians being a threat, we are a threat to the totalitarians. We are not a threat to the country, much more a threat to the government than the country. When you hear national security, think the government. Don't think the people.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's grab some live chat here. Then we got to talk about the vaccine mandate and probably very little of the budget, because we're running up on the clock here, as we usually are on this show, because there's so much. I mean, you see how I do with Contemporary. There's just so much out there that they're trying to jam down your throat. They're laughing at how I say negus. I don't know how I'm supposed to be saying this, but they're laughing about it. I don't know. I think about it when the Star Trek terms and the Deep Space Nine, the leader of the Ferengi, the Grand Nagus. I don't even know what that word means that they're saying, but
it's a warm beverage. I believe there's lemon in there, such like lemon and honey are in it. Yeah. Are they talking about 500-tooth dinosaurs too?
What's that?
Are they talking about 500-tooth dinosaurs too, or 1994 space movies?
Not that I've seen. We can find this out. Virginia not being blue anymore is a huge white pill. Yes, it is. It's definitely a step in the right direction, says Katie Zed. Ron says get rid of those federal government workers and the whole state will turn back red. Probably. Rejection of the Veducation agenda, says Leibt to Max. The victors write the history. Your children will learn, says Mr. Zed. Leibt to Max says Youngkin sounds like a Hobbit name. Ron says, I saw zero effort by Trump to fulfill his promise of getting rid of the Department of Education. That is some commie centralized planning. Yes, it is. Ron says, yep.
Also, just a quick note on that. The Department of Education was created in 1979. Do we have anybody in this entire country who sees this as having created a better situation? You look at people who were educated in the 60s and the earlier 70s and stuff like that. I don't know what need it was fulfilling, other than that they want to have administrators and they want standardization. If you look at almost every dollar that they send to states is spent on administrators who are making sure that guidelines are being followed. So basically, you're getting no more actual value out of it.
Right.
Anyways, yeah.
Steven says JED is 100% correct on this take. Yeah, you go into it knowing that they're going to rig it, but still vote. Make it hard for them. Don't make it easy for them to rig it. Not that the 2020 election was rigged. That was 100% above board and nothing bad happened. Honk, honk, don't ban me, Susan. Most popular president in history, 80 million votes. The same thing. But yeah, make it, if in a simulation there was an election that was rigged, make it hard for them. Make them work. Make them run that ballot printer until it fucking breaks. Ron says the 2020 election was not blatant enough and probable that a lying career Yankee politician that got that many votes, not to mention the fact that he is demented.
But he does wipe himself.
His butt's been wiped. Let's see. Life to the Max is actually caring about your kids and doing something about it is a white pill. Iyama Fago says Negus, pronounced Negus, is the Ethiopian word for king, I believe. I didn't know that either. But that would probably be why the Ferengi also used the name Negus for their spiritual and political leader.
Whole lot of Negus in this conversation.
Yeah, apparently.
Different kinds.
All right, let's talk about the vaccine mandates. So here's another big white pill for you, on top of everything else. And I've got somebody out here that's trying to say that this is gonna go away because they're ignoring 100 years of precedent, even though it has nothing to do with what happened in Jacobson versus Massachusetts. I know what he's citing, and he's going to try to come out here, even though that was a federalism law, and that showed that the states have the authority to mandate this. But as of Friday evening, Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal suspends Biden's vaccine mandates. Attempts to chip away at OSHA's vaccine mandate for companies with more than 100 employees saw success on Saturday, November 6th. So I'm sorry, this was on Saturday. A federal panel ruled that the mandate cannot be enforced after business owners across the South filed lawsuits with the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans. Well, the OSHA mandate, first of all, is unconstitutional because it exceeds the authority that Congress gave to OSHA, said Sarah Harbison with the Pelican Institute, which represents one of the business owners. As I said earlier, OSHA is set up to respond to hazards that are in the workplace. That's the authority that Congress has given them, and they cannot exceed that authority. So before we even discuss any more of this, what is your initial take of the fact that this got shot down?
It's not surprising if you look at the history of prior to this, there have been 9 times that OSHA has declared itself emergency powers.
Mm-hmm.
And of those times, 6 times they've actually been there have been cases brought to court and trials actually held related to it. Of those times, only once did OSHA get to retain all the powers that they had vested themselves in those situations. So 5 times out of 6, they lost in court.
I actually didn't even look today, but the Biden admin was supposed to respond by 5 p.m. today, your time. Yes, it looks like it looks like Biden's going to go back and do the same thing that he did with the...
Just do it.
Yeah, with the, what the fuck was it? The eviction moratorium.
Yeah.
The courts are going to come out and they're going to say, just keep doing this.
They only follow the courts when it gives them political cover to do something that they wanted to do anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what was the other thing?
So we're going to go ahead and put that on the stack for tomorrow morning because that's going to be interesting. But yeah, Biden had until like 5 p.m. today to respond to this. Otherwise, it's an injunction that stays. And yes, they can go back to appeal this up to the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court takes forever to do stuff.
And if they're enjoined from imposing it at this point, it will be until that's decided otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't understand where the federal government believes that they have the mandate to do this because this was what
because regulations are laws now. That's just the way they roll.
Right, but the problem that I have with this is the fact that this was such a dire emergency, such a dire thing. And this is what I thought we were going to be talking about with the vaccine mandate today is the fact that this was such a dire emergency. What happened on Saturday changed all that, but this is such a dire emergency that we have to have this done within 6 weeks. Not immediate, not in a couple weeks, not in a few days. 6 weeks. We can push this off until after the holiday season, like the businesses told Biden to do.
I'm glad that they did delay. I mean, at least reduce the chaos that this is going to create. But but as you pointed out, it shows a lack of urgency, as almost as if this is just window dressing.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think they have a fucking leg to stand on.
No. And even if they'd gone about this through the proper channel of going through Congress and getting a law passed, which they could, especially with how many crazies there are in Congress, then that the constitutionality of that law is very challengeable. But as a rule, this thing is dead in the water. It's a regulation. There's no authority for this.
Oh, they think there is. And, like I said, if it's a good idea,
you
assume
an authority until you're challenged.
Yeah. And if vaccination was a good idea, then more people would be going out and getting vaccinated. They absolutely would. You know who is vaccinated now?
Big Bird.
Big Bird is vaccinated. Big Bird tweeted out on 8:09 a.m. on November 6th, Saturday, I'm sorry. I got the COVID-19 vaccine today. My wing is feeling a little sore, but it'll give my body an extra protective boost that keeps me and others healthy. Miss Erica Hill even said that I've been getting vaccines since I was a little bird. I had no idea.
Can't make this stuff up. It's clown world, man. Just the propaganda of Big Bird. Oh my gosh. Abba Kadeki Jekamanaka Stewart says.
Well, the interesting side of that, and I didn't talk about this on Contemporary, but I know that, Sesame Street and CNN have been working together on numerous times throughout this for elections, for COVID, for mask wearing. They did another one off of this. So, CNN, the propaganda arm of the government at this point, is enlisting puppets from one of the most well-known children's shows in history to come back and give their messaging to impressionable young minds. Even the cigarette companies didn't go as far as to go back and to use children's programming.
It's to the parents, really. Isn't it? Don't you think it's to the parents? Do you really think it's to the kids?
I think it's to the kids, so they go back and beg their parents to go this, or try to shame their parents into this, or for the anti-vax parents out there. Well, why, mommy? Why am I not getting vaccinated?
I saw a statistic. What was it? It was from 5 days ago for the entire pandemic, right? How many folks aged 0 to 17 were counted as having died from COVID?
Isn't it like 461?
576.
Okay.
And by the way, that's during the same time that suddenly there were 0 flu deaths.
Mm-hmm.
So I have some suspicion that some of those might have been miscounted, but this is a group that doesn't get ill from the same things that every 5 years we have a disease that comes through and gets a bunch of morbidly obese people, a bunch of people that have problems with their immune system, that people that are very old, and colds them, and this is not much different. The fact that it was caused a little bit more flat-footed because the WHO and China's CCP decided that they were going to not let us contain it and lie to us about it. That probably hurts a bit, but
Virginia.
Oops.
No, it's just an autoplay that popped up. Sorry.
Okay. But this we get a disease, we get a virus like this every 5 years or so. It happens, and the same. If you look at the information about who it is that has died, mm-hmm. about 90% of the folks that died, unfortunately, it's very unfortunate. Every one of the deaths is unfortunate, but about 90% of those folks were in such a demographic that they were apt to die within a year. Yeah, the kids who died, some have had leukemia and stuff like that. This is these are sick kids, and the adults who died, most of them were sick people. Some people have been healthy and it destroyed their lungs and they died, and
Mhm.
that's really bad. But to take emergency action for something that's killed about 500 people in an age group, this does not seem sensible.
And I mean, I can cite my brother-in-law for this, which I'm not going to cite him by name, obviously, but my brother-in-law, he did get sick with the COVID, and he wound up having to be hospitalized, on the ventilator and everything else. My brother-in-law is a big boy. He is not small.
Are you saying he's
Or
robust, or are you saying that he perhaps is too robust in the wrong region?
I would say too robust in the wrong region. I mean,
Okay.
he's a big boy.
Mhm.
And to me, that kind of goes along with what Britt said when she had lockdown or Liberty Down Under on the Freckles and Britt show a couple weeks ago, pointing out the fact that, I mean, Britt dropped a bunch of weight at the beginning of
Yeah,
this
she's been doing a
because
great job. It's amazing.
she's my inspiration. I've got back onto it too myself, and I'm starting to go down too. But yeah, Britt dropped a bunch of weight off this, which a lot of Americans should have.
Hmm.
They absolutely should have.
Yeah, it's a shame that we don't. This has been politicized from the beginning, and I don't think that anybody's done themselves a service by just pointing at the other side, saying they're the ones who are politicizing it. No, you should take care. You should look to personal responsibility. Do what you can to take care of yourself and your family, and take precautions. Okay, but
Hmm.
I say take the same precautions you would have before. The masks are ineffective. The distancing is questionable. Uh, but wash your damn hands. You know, uh, just take care of yourself. You see someone coughing up a storm, maybe just kind of cross the street, or turn around and take a little different route or something like that. Give yourself that luxury of I'm worth spending this little extra time to avoid this person. You know, the simple things like that. I mean, if I've had the COVID, I'd be maybe there was a point back in November of 2019 when we all had like something with some mild flu-like symptoms. I don't know if that was it. If But since then, none of us had more than a sniffle. So I don't know if it was the avoidance or immunity or what. But it's not like we've been living our shells. We went to Mexico City last October. We've done some other traveling as well. It's like, this you got to live your life. Live before you die.
I was looking over my shoulder here, trying to decide whether or not I was going to ask you if you have some time to look over and do a brief bit on the budget, or if you got to get out of here because
Sure, sure.
we're on the time right now. But before I do that, I want to feature a meme from an audience member here from Katie Zed, off or on Twitter here, saying the prosecution's case disappeared faster than that fella's bicep.
Oh yeah. KT is very spicy.
Yes. I'm very glad to have Katie and Arvolt too, by the way, both coming in here and producing memes for Turns of Pages Productions companies. Very much enjoyment. We're very much enjoying this, by the way. All right, we got to talk just a bit about the budget reconciliation, or the infrastructure bill, not the budget reconciliation.
Ed, just
What's up?
real quick. I don't know if this is. I see something about chat being disconnected over here. I don't know if that's affecting anybody else. That's all.
Let me go look at the monitor here. I mean, I see the restream monitor, and it's not showing me anything. Let me check the monitors here.
All right, just wanted to check.
Does not look like I have anything on that in the monitor, so that might have been on your end.
Okay, it's been known to happen.
Yeah, okay. I always got to go check the monitors here. All right, let's talk about the infrastructure bill just briefly here before we head out of here, because the House has passed the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill that includes transport, broadband, and utility funding, and sends it out to Biden, which, of course, this is his signature legislation, so that's a foregone conclusion. He's probably got the rubber stamp warmed up already.
Mm-hmm.
It's a law, man. Um, there have been some questions as to what's in this bill, this specific bill. Now, of course, this is the lead up to going back and passing the monstrosity that has been brought down to a slightly smaller monstrosity, the $1.75 trillion human infrastructure bill. So they say. I have not read the regular infrastructure bill. I know that there was a lot of complaints about this, about the fact that the Congress people have not had a chance to read the infrastructure bill,
That
which,
was
given the
actually
fact that
a sensible complaint that the AOC brought up. Was she said, I don't want to vote for something if I don't see what's in it.
you've had 6 months to read it, it passed in May.
No, I meant the other one.
Oh, the big one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There is that going off with this, but I mean, they've had 6 months to read the one that just came through.
Yeah.
The one that's going to get rubber stamped here. One thing that was pointed out, and I haven't read it myself, but one thing that has been pointed out, my representative Brian Stile was on, I believe it was WISN today on the radio when I was listening to it while I was driving around, and pointed out the fact that only about $100 billion worth of this $1.2 trillion bill actually goes to roads, bridges, and otherwise, which, how much money do you need to have to connect roads between states? Because that should be, as far as I could tell, the only
That's the
thing
interstate
that's on the federal.
part.
Yeah. The intersections between the states, that should be the only thing on the federal purview.
Mm-hmm. But the use of the interstates in between the Eisenhower's interstate system, that's yeah, it's a way to say, okay, we're going to take your money hostage, then you're going to do what we say, and then we're going to give it back to you.
Yeah,
that's
the drinking age.
That's and any number of other things. That's an expropriation of power from the states and therefore from the people to the more centralized authority of the federal government.
Mm-hmm. I know. I saw an article today while I was finishing up show prep here, and I guess apparently I saw Stephen mention in the chat. Apparently, our wonderful transportation secretary, Mr. Buttigieg, just said that roads are specifically racist, and I think he cited something in New York. I haven't dove too deep into it yet because I was prepping for this show, but
there is. Okay, so
we lost Quest. Uh-oh. Just in the middle of a sentence, we just lost Quest. I don't know if his battery died or whatnot. Oh, that was fun. Well, I guess let's do live chat here. See if we can get him back for surprise stupidity here. Let me see what we have going on over here. Yeah, that's the big purview off of this too, is I don't know what goes on with this and where the federal government believes that they have that kind of purview off of this, because yes, they can come back and they can say, okay, yeah, we've got we can come out here and redistribute the money back out for the roads. And yes, it does come down to highway funding. That is the big thing that they do, because like I said, the drinking age. That's how they mandated the drinking age, because there is no federal law that says the drinking age has to be 21. But they went through to all these individual states and told them that if you don't set your drinking age as 21, you're not going to get the highway funding. If the vaccine mandate, by the way, stalls because of what's in Jacobson versus Massachusetts, I actually wouldn't be surprised if they went back, especially with this infrastructure bill passing, and did the same thing. They came out and said, okay, well, you at a state level have to come out, and at this point now you have to come back and make your vaccine mandates mandated, otherwise you're not getting your highway funding. That's something I could see the federal government doing. That's absolutely something that I could see off of that. But as far as that goes, I mean, this is going to be the rubber stamp and this is going to go. I got to figure out what happened to Quest here, because we can't really do surprise stupidity without the person to surprise. And I had a good one too. That's lame. I don't know if his phone just died or what the hell happened here, but I guess we'll have to come back and figure that out. Otherwise, let's go check in with a little bit of live chat here. See what is going on there. Looks like you guys have been kind of quiet throughout the end of the night. I will share surprise stupidity with the audience if Quest doesn't come back, by the way. Let's see. Life to the Max says, rigger, please. Those dirty riggers in DC, they're just rigging everything, aren't they? Riggers. Riggers, I swear. Life to the Max says, decent Big Bird voice. Well, thank you. I watched a lot of that when I was younger, so I can remember what that sounded like. Even the Jim Henson version and the post-Jim Henson version. Katie Zed says I did when we were talking about the big weight loss, so congratulations off of that. I'm working on that myself. That was fast. I just posted that. Yeah, it was a good one. It was definitely worth it. Oh, we got him back.
Wait, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're large this time. Am I hearing myself? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, now I can't hear you. Now you went all echoey.
Can you hear me now?
You were fine the first time, but then you went into something echo, so you must have changed your microphone or something.
Is it better now?
Yes, a little bit. Enough to close out the show with, anyway.
Sorry about that.
Phone
The
die?
phone seemed to be drawing power faster than I could charge it. I don't know why.
Oh. That says your bandwidth is low, but that's fine. We can still have the little image here and finish off here, because I do have some surprise stupidity to share with you before the end of it. So let's get that rigged up here and let's go. Unfortunately, with using your one screen, you're probably not going to be able to see the video, but you'll be able to hear the audio, and that's going to be enough off of this. Where did I hide that? I hid that in a place where it wouldn't accidentally pop up on the screen and be a spoiler. All right. So, and I was just catching up a little bit of live chat as we went here. So, of course, I had to go find something that had not been featured on Contemporary yet because of, well, it's got to be a surprise because you watch Contemporary. And I went to my go-to source, Libs of TikTok. And I found a new one here that I don't know if you've seen or not, but it's definitely worth looking at here. So let's get it up on the screen and let's talk about it here. This is a teacher. Does not say where the teacher is from, but this is a teacher who has said that masks. Well, Libs of TikTok says the masks are for student safety, and let's listen to the teacher and let's figure out why.
I'm gonna say this one last time. Everyone, cover your noses because I am not getting COVID because I want to see Harry Styles in concert next month. So everybody cover the nose. I swear to goodness gracious, if I get COVID the week that I'm supposed to see Harry Styles, I don't know what I will do. But I don't want to, I don't even want to think about it. So cover the nose. I'm going to say this one.
Did you hear any of that?
Play it one more time.
All right, I can do that.
I'm going to say this one last time. Everyone cover your noses because I am not getting COVID because I want to see Harry Styles in concert next month. So everybody cover the nose. I swear to goodness gracious, if I get COVID the week that I'm supposed to see Harry Styles, I don't know what I will do. But I don't want to, I don't even want to think about it. So cover the nose.
Oh, this is cringe.
It gets worse. There are a couple other videos that go along with that too, because they also come out and say this is a child in an adult's body. Let me back this up here so we get some audio with this.
On my way to get my faculty photo.
She's carrying a cardboard cutout of Harry Styles to go get her faculty photo done. Walking. And there she is with her cardboard cutout of Harry Styles for her faculty photo to go on the school website. And the last one, the last offering from Elizabeth, because we're not done yet. I'm officially calling for an intervention.
All right, so for today's due now. Oh my God, look at this. On a scale of 1 to Harry, how has your week been so far? See, Harry Styles.
All right.
You can get used to that technology there.
The fact that this started off with the fact that the masks are not for your safety, and going back to the education question that we talked about, this is one of the women who is educating your children in public school.
Oh, I'm honestly speechless. It's terrible.
This
Educate your children, people. People, please figure it out.
Homeschool your kids.
It's worth the effort. It really is.
All right, let's finish up live chat here and get out of here for the night, because it looks like your bandwidth is out and everything that you own is losing battery here. Let's see, where was I? Katie Z says that one was a collaboration from the Meme Factory. Thank you for that. Nephilim Ninja says definitely disconnected chat. Steven says roads can't be racist. They're black. Mr. Z says they're just making budgets up so they can line their pockets. Then when somebody finds it, they can say it was voted on. Steven says they cloned Jed. Because when you popped off of there, it gave the default, what was coming on the camera that I was sending out. So it looked like I was talking to myself across the screen here.
As long as you're keeping good company.
Life to the Max says Ed and Ed show. Let's finish up. Let's get to the side by side here so we can finish out here. Recreational Stress says that this dude needs to get his testosterone checked immediately. We're good. I have some to spare if you need some, Recreational Stress. Steven says, oh my God, this is so funny. Rigor, please. Life to the Max says, when Big Bird drops dead, you can be his zombie voice. Katie Z says, Quest, do you have a wall made of gold bars? That's a question for you.
Oh, that's actually the original wallpaper back there. This is a 1909 Axel Hedman that I live in. So that is grass cloth, I believe it's called. It's the original wallpaper. I don't think this camera is good enough to show you like the other one would have been, but it's that's kind of how a golden look to it. And then back here, this is one of my mom's books from like the 70s.
Oh, nice. Mr. Said says,
and then this is my mantle.
Nice.
Anyways, yeah.
Mr. Zed said, Quest is the damn Negus. Of course his walls are made of gold bars. So do you live in the Grand Treasury then? Or no, that we're all going to go to the Grand Treasury after we die. Because we're good capitalists.
Yeah.
Katie Zed says, this woman has priorities, obviously. Mr. Zed said, this woman needs a boyfriend. Mr.
Three-dimensional one is two-dimensional.
Life to the Max says she will be so disappointed when she can't wear matching dresses with Harry. Mr. Zed says maybe even a BOB, that is a 220 wall plug. Katie Zed says, of course she's single. Of course she's single. Who the fuck would date that? And I said, I might. It's been a while. I might go out with that. Katie Zed didn't like that very much. Life to the Max says another good reason for homeschooling. And Life to the Max will get last word as well and says Biden's America is attacking Quest's internet. All right, let's throw some music up here and let's head out for the day. Where is it? Where's my outro music? Damn it. I'm always so prepared.
Always good talking with you, Ed.
Yeah. So thanks everybody who came by and chatted with us in the live chat here, kept us on point, kept us honest, even with the fact checks out there. So thank you for that. And thank you for the memes as well. I will be back here tomorrow morning for more contemporary, so come back out and join that on all the platforms. You guys can come back and join on the Instagram, the YouTube, the Facebook, wherever you guys can find it. You can come back in and chat and live with us. If my guests want to find you, Quest Fanning, where can they find you and interact with you?
I'm at Quest Fanning on Twitter, so find me there.
Go do that. Do you have any other upcoming appearances that they might want to know about?
No appearances. I am planning on doing some videos related to homeschooling. I've got a couple. I'm planning to do a review of some language software. I'm thinking about also. I'm starting to teach Franny some coding, so I'm thinking of perhaps looking at doing something about that as well. No specific time frame on that. Just when I can fit it in.
Well, also go and look for those projects and look for Quest in the Discord. He is in there from time to time occasionally, but also go back and check him out on his Twitter, as he mentioned, at Quest Fanning. Go check that out. Otherwise, as I always say at the end of the show, never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions, because we can only go so far here, you guys. Figure out what works best for you and draw your own conclusions. Quest, lead them out with some last words.
Let's go, Brandon.
Thanks, you guys. We will see you next time. Take care.